Greetings, viewers. I trust you're in good health, and I extend my gratitude to each of you for participating in this webinar focused on the banking module within Zoho Books. I am Rachel Marianne, a product expert in Zoho Books, and I'm here to walk you through our power tool, the banking module in Zoho Books. Before we delve into the key features of this module, let's take a moment to review the agenda of this webinar. Firstly, we will try to understand the purpose of the banking module and then examine the different functionalities offered within the module. The banking module in Zoho Books enables you to streamline and automate your business's financial process. Since a significant portion of business transactions occur through banking, manually managing them could be a cumbersome task. The banking feature of Zoho Books will help you sync your bank statements with Zoho Books, eliminating the need to do accounting and banking separately. In fact, to reduce the manual process further, Zoho Books allows you to directly connect with your bank to fetch bank statements automatically in a periodic fashion, thereby helping you reconcile your bank statements with ease in Zoho Books. Now, what does bank reconciliation mean in an accounting software? Bank reconciliation is a process of comparing and matching the transactions recorded in an organization's accounting records with the transactions shown in the bank statement. It is performed to ensure that the balances in the company's accounting system and the bank statement are in agreement, such as invoices, bills, or other payments. I have simplified the process with 4 main steps. Step 1 will be the setup, followed by actions like add transaction, match and categorize transactions, and finally end it with reconciliation. For the setup, you can head to the banking module, where you can add your bank and credit card accounts to Zoho Books. Once you add an account, you can import its feeds manually or automatically into Zoho Books. After doing this, you will be able to match the transactions in Zoho Books with your bank statements. Now let's look into the manual process. You can add your bank or credit card accounts manually in Zoho Books, wherein you can have the bank feeds imported into Zoho Books. This can be beneficial for different reasons, such as your bank not supporting automatic bank feeds. You might want to have more control over your data, or perhaps you're a small business with limited time or resources to set up automatic bank feeds. You need to click on the Add Manually button in this section to set up the bank account with account name, account code if you require, the currency of the bank account, and the account number of the bank, also known as the IBAN number of the bank, and then save. You can also choose this Make This Primary option if you would like to mark this particular bank account as a default bank for all your payments. Once the setup is done, you can start importing the bank statements using compatible file formats such as CSV, TSV, OFX, or QIF as mentioned on the screen to kickstart your reconciliation process in Zoho Books. If your business is based within the Middle Eastern countries, you can even import the bank statements with PDF formats, which is provided by a third-party service provider named Perfuse. You can set this up by uploading a PDF file in the same section. Choose the name of the bank for which the statements are imported and proceed to import by agreeing to the terms. You will also have an option to enter the password for encrypted files that you wish to import. We can also set up automatic feeds in Zoho Books. The automatic fetch is supported only in the paid plans of Zoho Books. This is facilitated through third-party service providers, namely Yodlee, Token, and Plaid, each providing services for specified regions. Yodlee would be supporting for global regions. Token will support for the United Kingdom and the European region. And Plate will support the USA and the Canadian region. These third-party service providers help Zoho Books in connecting thousands of major banks and credit cards for automatic feeds in their own specified regions. They are able to help us with automatic feeds because of open banking provided by the banks, meaning open API from banks that the service providers use to fetch bank statements from. Open banking is a practice that allows financial institutions to share customer data with third-party service providers via application programming interfaces once the customer provides consent. In fact, it is a part of PSD2 that aims at making bank feeds available to customers in a secure manner through authorized third-party payment service providers. Open banking comes from an EU law called PSD2, Payment Service Directive. It's designed to give you control over your financial data as well as encourage greater competition in the banking industry. Service providers, also known as account information service providers, have read-only access to your bank account information, such as bank balance and transaction history, and do not store your login details. So let's jump right into it, shall we? You will need to navigate to the banking module. Click on Connect Bank or Credit Card option here. Click on Connect Now. Now here, I will be able to choose my service provider as already discussed. Since my business location is within the European region, I can choose Token, but based on your preference and your location, you can choose Yodlee or Plate. Then type the bank name in the search bar here to connect it with Zoho Books. Once you select it, this 4-step configuration page will open up where you will have to agree to the token's end user terms of service. This is the same for all the 3 service providers, each having their own user terms of service, which you will have to agree before connecting. Then you can click on Connect Now. This will redirect us to the service provider's consent page, where we will have to give our acceptance to share the information such as accounts, balances, and transaction history. Upon acceptance, you will be redirected to the login page of the bank where you can give your credentials and log in. Once done, the accounts under your bank account will be listed, where you can choose the account that you would like to configure with Zoho Books and confirm. This again will redirect you to Zoho Books, hence configuring the bank account that you require with Zoho Books. Also, these steps will vary a little for each service provider in the user interface. And as you can see, now we have been redirected to Zoho Books, where the selected account while reconfiguring is listed. You can select the account here using the checkbox and then choose the date from which you would like to download or fetch the bank feeds into Zoho Books. As per the SCA regulations, you can fetch bank feeds only for the past 90 days. You can even click on the Learn Why option to check more details on that, and then select the date accordingly to click on Continue. This will in turn finish the configuration process in Zoho Books, and hence the bank will be listed like this. Please note that banking feeds are retrieved once every 24 hours, capturing transactions up to the previous day. In other words, if you fetch your bank feeds today, you'll be able to view the feeds imported into Zoho Books until yesterday. This Wi-Fi symbol will indicate if the feeds are active, or if they are being fetched, or if they are broken, meaning automatic fetch is suspended. Now, what to do if the feeds are broken? The course of action at your end should be as follows. The first action should be to reconfigure feeds if your service provider is Token, or if it's Yodlee and Plaid, you can try updating the credentials and refreshing the feeds to verify if the feeds are being fetched again. If the first course of action is not working, then you can contact the support and they will assist you accordingly. Once the feeds are successfully retrieved in Zoho Books, we can proceed with the necessary steps for handling bank reconciliation, which brings us to the second step of reconciliation, adding transactions. If you have already recorded your expenses and payments in Zoho Books, then this step can be skipped. However, you can use the Add Transactions option to record manual entries for your offline transactions for your bank or credit card accounts. The manually added transactions will be listed under All Transactions filter as shown here, and the bank statements will be listed as uncategorized transactions in this section. It is essential to match and categorize these uncategorized transactions to ensure their alignment with the manual entries in your Zoho Books organization, ultimately streamlining the reconciliation of your bank statements. In order to proceed, you will have to click on one of the bank statements that are listed here, and the right-hand side section of the screen will show you two tabs. One is Match Transactions, the other is Categorize Manually. Let me first demonstrate the Match Transactions feature in Zoho Books. That is, when transactions corresponding to the uncategorized transactions are already created in Zoho Books. For example, as you can see, when I clicked on the bank statement here, the system has automatically listed down the best and possible matches for that particular feed, which will correspond to the transactions in Zoho Books. I can either choose the invoice that has not been paid, which is the best match, or I can select using the select option under possible matches that add up to the deposit value and then head to match. For now, I will stick with the best match, which is the invoice listed here, and click on match. Once I do that, you can see that this particular bank statement is no longer listed under uncategorized transaction, but is listed as all transactions with the status matched. You can also see that the system has automatically created a customer payment for this particular invoice. Also, in an instance where you would like to match multiple bank deposits to multiple transactions in Zoho Books, you can click on the Multi-Select and Match option at the top here and select the transactions that you would like to match in the bank statements, which will automatically list the possible matches as well, and proceed to match. As you can see, there is a pending value for which I can also create a new transactions if I have not created one, and then proceed to save and match. This again will take off the bank statement from the uncategorized transaction and move it to the all transactions section as shown in here. Apart from the already discussed matching options, we have an easier way to automate this process where the system will find a best match, shown as match found in this section with the match button right next to it, thus reducing the number of steps required for matching a transaction in Zoho Books. This feature can be enabled upon request. Please drop an email to support@zohobooks.com and we will assist you on this accordingly. In a different scenario where you engage in both buying and selling goods with a single contact, you will have an offset value based on the difference between the receivables and payables to that contact. This can be handled using the filter icon in the Match Transactions tab here. In my case, I have a bill of £50 and an invoice for £300 for which the payments have already been recorded by the same contact. and thus this contact owes me a net balance of £250. I can offset the receivables and payables from this contact by matching this deposit of £250 to the required payments that we just encountered. For this, you can click on the filter icon here and edit the amount range and the date range for which the transactions need to be found, and enable the include withdrawals option and hit search. This will in turn search for the transactions within that filter and help you to select and match the transactions as required. Moving on with the categorizing manually section, in cases where the uncategorized transaction lacks a corresponding entry in your Zoho Books organization, or if you prefer not to choose from the available options, you have the option to generate a new transaction instantly and link it to the statement line. So when I click on a bank statement, the system is automatically taking me to the Categorize Manually section because the system does not have any matching transactions in this amount. Now here, I can choose the type of transaction that I would like to choose under category, choose the expense account that I would like to track this amount in, and then save. Once I save, the transaction will be created in Zoho Books. And also, as you can see, the system will prompt you to create a transaction rule for the categorized transaction, which means you can automate the categorization of the bank fields. Transaction rules in the banking module will help you identify and categorize bank transactions automatically based on the criteria you set. If you want to create a transaction rule, then all you need to do is enter a name for the rule and save it. This transaction rule will automatically create transactions corresponding to your bank statements that are fetched in future. You can also track or even create new transaction rules if you need by going to the gear icon and clicking on Manage Transaction Rules. This will list the transaction rules that you already set up and also allow you to create new rules as per your requirement. This brings us to the fourth and final step, reconciliation. The categorized and matched transactions in Zoho Books will be automatically listed for the reconciliation process. All you need to do is navigate to the gear icon at the top right corner, click on Reconcile Account and click on Reconcile Now to initiate the reconciliation process. Once you do this, you will be asked the start date and the end date for the reconciliation period and also the balance, the closing balance of that particular period. Once you enter that, you can start the reconciliation with just a click away. As you can see, the system has already listed and selected the categorized and matched transactions automatically. And also, our end goal to reconcile effectively is to ensure that the difference is zero. That is, the closing balance and the sum of all the transactions that have been matched and categorized need to be the same. Once they are same, you can head to reconcile or even save and reconcile later. If at all the difference is different, if there is a difference here, you can either create a transaction here using the add transaction option or use the checkboxes to choose one of the transactions that I've listed here and then head to reconcile. Once done, the status is changed to reconciled for that particular date range, and also we have functionalities where you can attach required documents to this particular reconciliation. We also have options to get this printed and also undo or delete if any kind of changes need to be done to the reconciled data. Having done the reconciliation process, we do not stop here. Bank reconciliation statements are great for detecting frauds in financial transactions of medium to large size companies. Bank reconciliation statements also help to analyze the errors that can affect the financial transactions of a company or business. Which is why we have the reports section. Zoho Books offers various types of reports for this purpose. The very first report is the dashboard under each bank account, the banking overview page, the reconciliation status report, and the dashboard in the home page of Zoho Books. The dashboard account summary under each bank account will show you the last import data with an option to import statement, the last reconciliation data, and also the transaction rules and the option to create new transaction rules for this particular bank account moving forward. We also have a bank summary report that will show the details based on the transactions you have created on each date for the last 30 days or even for the last 12 months. We also list recent transactions at the right hand side based on the transactions you have created in Zoho Books, along with the Sync Now option that will help you to fetch the feeds from your bank account to Zoho Books. Next up is the banking overview page, which will show you a collated data of all the cash accounts, the bank accounts, and the credit card accounts that you have configured in Zoho Books. The details are also shown graphically, as you can see, based on the data you have created. You can also use the drop-down icon here to edit the account if you need, view transactions, manage transaction rules from here, and even mark them as inactive if you need. The reconciliation report can be viewed under the Reports module in the Banking section. You can click on this to view the bank and the bank statement details and have them exported as PDF in Zoho Books. You can even customize the report by changing the date change and the account as per your requirements and then head to export. Finally, we have the dashboard from the home page of Zoho Books. Here, the bank and credit card section will display the list of all your bank accounts and credit cards you've added. You can even select any one of the bank accounts to view and manage them in Zoho Books. The Categorize Now option will help you to categorize all the uncategorized transactions together for all bank accounts. And apart from all the features that we've discussed so far, you can also do bulk actions to handle banking better in Zoho Books. When you have duplicate transactions in your bank statements, or when you have your personal statements that are reflected in Zoho Books and you do not want it to be included in your company's financial reports, you can choose to exclude them using this function. You can choose the required bank statements and click on Exclude, and they will be excluded from the banking statement section and away from your financial reports. And there might be days when you might have incorrectly matched transactions in Zoho Books with those in the bank statement. In such cases, you can choose the required match transactions this way and unmatch them in bulk. You might recall that we had set up transaction rules. Now, Zoho Books automatically recognizes these transactions based on the criteria we set up in the transaction rule and brings it under the Recognize Transaction tab. Here, we can bulk select them and have them categorized in bulk as well. In cases where we have categorized the transactions incorrectly, you can come and bulk select those transactions and even uncategorize them in bulk. You can select and delete the manually added transactions in bulk as well using this option. The final bulk action is to restore the excluded transactions. For that, you can click on the Excluded section here, head to Manually Excluded, and bulk select them to restore these transactions if you need. These will again be listed under uncategorized transactions for your reconciliation process. With that, we've come to the end of our session in effortlessly mastering the reconciliation process in Zoho Books, helping you to automate your business's financial process. Thank you again for joining us today. Wishing you a fantastic day ahead.